Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX and I'm Vaishali Kohli. January 3, 2026, US forces executed a daring military strike in Caracas, capturing Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife, Cilia Flores. They were swiftly flown out to face long-standing US narco-terrorism and drug trafficking charges. However, this is not the first time the United States of America carried out such large-scale operations. This bold operation mirrors a rare US pattern of directly seizing foreign leaders accused of threatening American interests. In 1989 to 1990, the US invaded Panama to arrest dictator Manuel Noriega, indicted for drug smuggling, extracting him after he sought Vatican refuge exactly 30 years before Maduro's capture. Similarly, in 2003, American troops pulled Saddam Hussein from a hidden spider hole in Iraq following the invasion that toppled his regime. Maduro's removal, justified by $50 million bounty and allegations of running a narco state, continues this trend of enforcing US indictments against defiant autocrats through direct action. I have Major General J.K. Bansal, defense expert, and Shruti Dasgupta, foreign affairs expert, joining me on the broadcast. I'd like to welcome both my guests, and I want to begin by Major General J.K. Bansal. Major General J.K. Bansal, this was a very big move by Trump. I mean, do you see it positively or negatively is what I want to know, to begin with.
You know, if we say the world leaders have got a different opinion, most of the people have condemned it, and some allies has given a very calculative and very balanced reaction in the form of that there should be rule of law and there should be dialogue and diplomacy. However, some of the countries, and specifically President Zelensky, he has supported this, that yes, all dictators, they should be dealt like this only. Similarly, Albania and Israel and Argentine, they are very happy saying that this is the fall of Maduro. So actually, of course, there's a long-standing war between America and Venezuela. And Venezuela, this Maduro's regime has been creating problem for US. So they tried to tell him also, but he did not listen. And once he did notice, that is the end result is like this. Because, you know, long back, maybe in 1920 onwards, there was a great cooperation between US and Venezuela, and their economy was prospering. Then this Chavez, he came and he has done the differently. He was anti-Americans, and moreover, whatever it may be, of course, this is not the correct way, but America basically want that there should be a rule of law and there should be democracy. While there was no democracy in this particular case, Maduro has just his opponent, whether it is the Nobel Peace Prize, this Maria Machado, who was the Nobel Peace Prize winner. She was the opposition and he banned her for participating in election. So he was definitely a dictator, and the kind of economy was going down, and he was just promoting militia and his own people, and the poor people who were not taken care of. In one way, I think whatever has been said by US and President Trump, they mean that they will bring happiness over there. They will take care of each and every section of the community, and whatever wealth of Venezuela in the form of specifically oil will be utilized for the Venezuela people only. Then it is a good move. Back to you.
I also have Shruti Dasgupta, foreign affairs expert, joining me. Now, Shruti, after all of what has happened, yesterday you and I were discussing this throughout for the 4.5 hours that we were on it continuously, bringing our viewers every detail. And at that time, Shruti, there was no official confirmation from the US. Now there is. Now I want to ask you, do you see this positively or negatively?
Depends on which side of the world I'm a citizen of. So if I'm a US citizen, it is a call for happiness, because What was the entire operation about? One, it was about the oil reserves, which is 18% of the world's oil reserves, larger than what Saudi Arabia control. And we know that the Henry Kissinger deal ties the dollar very beautifully with the amount of crude oil in the world. So when you control 18% of the world's oil reserves, which is what Trump is saying now, that he's going to control or rule or whichever other pretty words you want to use, Venezuela until in a time the transition can be safely done, you are stabilizing your dollar. One is that. Second is the revisited Monroe Doctrine that we spoke about yesterday. He has, by the new national security document of USA states that they need to control the Western Hemisphere completely, dominate it. And I feel that the South Americas have now become the new Africa. There's going to be a scramble for the South Americas as much as the Africans, because they have the lithium triangle there. They have gold reserves, silver reserves, rare earth elements itself in Venezuela. So these critical minerals are something that they are going to be able to influence and control very happily. So if I'm an American, I would feel very happy about it, because you are now in a position, your government is in a position of controlling a large amount of resources. If I'm a South American, I would feel scared, because if it can happen in Venezuela under the pretext of narco-terrorism or name of democracy, it can happen to Colombia, it can happen to Peru, it can happen to Mexico, Brazil. Any of these nations can and should feel threatened, because if you're not a vassal of USA, you will be turned into a puppet state, which is what exactly, unfortunately, the future of Venezuela is going to be in the days to come. If I am sitting on the other side of the world, which is the Asian continent or even Europe, I am going to be watching this very carefully, because it shows that the US is willing to call a rules-based order in speeches and in text, but is not willing to follow any international norm or law, and is they haven't even like any declaration of war, capture of criminals is supposed to pass through their own Congress, and they haven't done it. If they haven't even followed the law of their own nation in the actions that they have taken in Venezuela, I don't think you can assume that they will follow any international law. And so in the days to come, US has now become a rogue player that is going to do what it requires to do to ensure its own interests. And that brings a level of delicacy and danger into geopolitics that is never good for economies, world economies or individual economies. So it depends on where I'm sitting in the world that I would look at this capture of Venezuela and Maduro. I'm sure that there are people in Venezuela who might be happy, because he was a dictator, there was no doubt about it. There was inflation, there was unemployment, there was a large amount of dissent against Maduro and his regime. They wanted freedom, which they were not being given. But does that allow USA to put boots on ground? Does that allow USA to control a nation? Not really. People who celebrate this must remember Afghanistan. They replaced Afghanistan's regime with Taliban and then replaced it again with Taliban. There you've seen exactly how a nation can be brought to ruin just because the US decided that it knows better than the people who are actually off the ground. So there is a large discussion open for all the other nations to look and observe and understand what this exact move really means for the world.